What's going on, guys? Back at it again with another Isobel build here for you guys on the channel. This one I am calling the Chaplain. Simply put, she is a healer, and I figured that a chaplain was a very fitting name, seeing as she is a fantastic healer, which you guys would see in this video. If you guys are excited for this video, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, let's jump right into this. Alright guys, so we are going to start off in the passives department, because there is a couple things here that's going to affect the build directly. Her passive is called Enchanted, and it reads as decreases ability cooldowns by 3% and damage taken by 3%. The damage taken portion of this passive really isn't the focus of this. However, on the first part of that, where it says decreases ability cooldown by 3%, is actually pretty big for this build, because she will be able to keep her heals up that much faster, because her cooldowns are going to be 3% quicker. That is fantastic for this build, because the longer she can have her skills up, the more she can use them, and effectively keeping your heals up at any given point. So with that being said, with the number 1 slot, we have Rejuvenation. Rejuvenation reads as Isobel Velois shares their staff's life-giving energy, healing themselves and nearby ally for 9,960 health over 8 seconds. The cooldown is at 10.1 seconds, making this pretty effective in the healing department. But where this really shines is in the heal over time, of course, at 9,960 over 8 seconds. So every tick is going to heal for a small heal, but over 8 seconds, making it a pretty effective heal over time. In the number 2 slot, we have Beam of Approach. Beam of Approach reads as Isobel Velois bathes an enemy in a beam of sunlight, immediately dealing 4,350 magic damage and healing allies nearby for 4,980 health. The residual light will then continue to heal allies near the enemy for 1,244 health every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. So this isn't a tick for every second, it's every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. So every 4 seconds she will be healing for 1,244 health over time, which is pretty okay. It's pretty nice. It's not too bad, to say the least. But this mainly is a burst heal, because it automatically and instantly gives you 4,980 health right off the bat. It does deal a little bit of damage, but of course, since she is in a support role, the damage portion of the skill really is not important, but it does add an additional 4,350 magic damage on top of the damage dealing capabilities of you or your group. So there is that little added benefit. But like I said, what you have this skill slotted for is actually for the burst heal of almost 5,000 and the heal over time that is also attached to this skill. Fantastic skill, guys. Very, very recommended that this is slotted. Moving on to the number 3 slot, Mending Incantation, the second skill that comes directly out of your Restoration staff skill line. Mending Incantation reads as Isobel Velois slams their staff down to activate its blessing, healing themselves and allies in front of them for 4,980 health. This blessing also grants 7,000 spell and physical resistance. So this right off the bat is a burst heal of 4,980. However, it also adds an additional 7,000 spell and physical resistance. I do really like this skill. It really adds to the survivability of you whenever you're playing with Isobel as a companion with this skill slotted, because of that 7,000 physical and spell resistance. However, I will throw in a caveat to this. If you're running a build that has really high physical and spell resistance within 7,000, of course, of 33,000, which is the cap, I don't recommend having this, which that scenario, by the way, is very rare. Most people don't run physical and spell resistant builds, but if you happen to be one of those few, this skill will not be optimal for you. In that case, I will go into the mage's skill and put in reverse entropy, which just gives you a massive heal over time. So if that's the approach that you're going to be taking, reverse entropy would be a better fit for you. However, since I don't run a physical and spell resistance build, I do run tanks, but I mainly focus on blocking instead of physical and spell resistance. So adding that 7,000 physical and spell resistance is pretty good. It's also very good for DPS builds because 7,000 is not a small number. It's a pretty good amount of physical and spell resistance added to any DPS build out there as well. Very, very recommended that you take this if you're not within 7,000 of 33,000. In the number 4 slot, Holy Ground. Holy Ground reads as Isobel Velawal consecrates the ground under them for 8 seconds, healing themselves and nearby allies 2,489 health every 2 seconds, and snaring enemies by 50%. Used when Isobel Velawal or a nearby ally is below 75% health, or if an enemy is nearby. That little asterisk or added notation down there in the bottom, honestly, I don't understand it. It's going to be up at any given time. They don't use their skills unless you're in combat, so of course there's going to be enemies nearby for her to be able to use this. So of course this skill is going to be up the vast majority of the time. But this skill is yet another heal over time. She places it down in a massive circle 360 degrees around or radius around her, but the circle is pretty massive. So if you need an additional heal over time for not just her but for you as well, just run into the circle that she placed down to the ground and you will have yet another heal over time. This also has a utility benefit on top of that, which snares enemies inside of the circle by 50%, which is just a great addition. I think this is better for tanks. However, it definitely applies a large amount of utility and healing received to have this slotted as well as a healer. So definitely recommend this having on your bar as well. In your number 5 slot, you have Blessed Sacrament. Blessed Sacrament reads as Isobel Velawal sends out a burst of soothing light, healing themselves or nearby ally for 4,980 health and an additional 1,868 every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. The light, as the light momentarily lingers. This skill primarily is another burst heal of 4,980. However, it also applies an additional 1,867 every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. So every 2 seconds, it will tick and will apply a small heal over time for you guys. So it'll be essentially just 4 ticks of a small heal. But that, on top of this heal over time, on top of this, and on top of this heal over time, you have a massive amount of heal over time and a massive burst potential that she will be able to do. Not to mention, of course, rejuvenation, which also gives you a massive heal over time as well. This is a fantastic build for anybody who really wants to run Isobel as a healer. Because of her Breton passives, she's able to keep her heals up a lot faster, therefore making her a very, very top contender in the healing department, rivaling that of Miri, even though she has a 3% healing boost in terms of the potency of her heals. She is able to cast her ability sooner, therefore having a very similar benefit altogether. Really, the decision's yours. I kind of really like the idea of having Isobel as a healer. I think she's very effective, as you guys will see here in a little bit. But for the final skill slotted is, of course, Baneslayer. Baneslayer reads as Isobel Velawal channels their energy and conjures a weapon made of sunlight before striking downward, dealing 8,700 magic damage to all enemies in front of them. Enemies damaged by Baneslayer have particles remaining on them for 10 seconds that detonate for 4,350 magic damage when a player deals damage to them. So this skill is a close to medium ranged ability, right? If you're going to be running long distances, which sometimes she will be because she is a restoration staff and she typically just keeps her distance, sometimes she just won't activate the skill depending on her distance away from the enemy. However, if she is within that distance allotted, which is an area of 15 by 10 meters, and the range is 15 meters in general, this is going to be a fantastic skill for the damage dealers specifically, because this will increase the overall DPS of the group or you. However, sometimes she will be out of range, and in those situations she just plain and simple will not use this skill. This skill also has a weird little caveat to it. Because it's a channel time, it works a little bit different from Bastion's, because Bastion, if all the enemies are killed in the vicinity while the channel time has started for Bastion, he automatically cancels the channel and you effectively get to save that ultimate for a later fight. Isobel's ultimate isn't necessarily, that's not necessarily the case. Whenever she activates the channel time or this ultimate and the channel time begins and you kill all the enemies in the area, she will still use this ultimate, effectively wasting the ultimate altogether. So that's something to take into consideration. I don't like to put a lot of faith into this skill, even though when it works, it is absolutely fantastic. But this skill is a little bit too inconsistent for my liking, although it looks fantastic as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump to her gear and see what she has to offer. In terms of gear, guys, I like to rock or emulate my companions in the same fashion that I use for my own personal companions, or for my own personal builds. What I mean by that is simple. Whenever I build my own characters, I go by 2 5-piece sets and a 2-piece monster set, because 2-piece monster sets aren't really a thing for companions. We'll just call it a 2-piece in general. So for the first 2-piece set, we have Soothing in light armor. Soothing increases healing done by 1.7% for each piece worn, assuming you're wearing purple gear. And of course, this is light because of the passive, which increases healing done by 1% for each piece of light armor equipped. It also decreases the cooldown of break free by 5% for each piece of the armor equipped. So it is highly recommended that you use light armor for this specific build, because it adds to the potency of her heals in general. So very, very, very important that you use light armor for this. And of course, Soothing is my trait of choice. For the first 5-piece set, of course, we're going to go with Soothing again, because it adds an additional 1.7% for each piece worn. And again, it's all light because of that armor passive. For the final 5-piece set, we're going with Quicken, because Quicken reduces the ability cooldowns by 2.6% for each piece equipped. The only exception for that is going to be the weapon, because it's considered a 2-piece, therefore increasing or decreasing the ability cooldowns by 5.2% instead of 2.6. Absolutely fantastic is this setup. I highly recommend you guys running this way. You can also run more pieces of Quickened in the 2-piece slot, or because that would really help with the ability cooldown as well. This is a great build all the way around. With that being said, let's go over to the house and check out her fashion. Alright guys, in terms of fashion, she is using the Antiquarian robes, which is available in game. You just have to effectively max out your scrying and excavation, I believe is how you get this. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how you get it. And you're able to get these robes for yourself. In terms of dyes, I do have Divine Gold, Blood Gold, and Templar's Last Dawn. In terms of the weapon, I do have the Breton Staff 2, Blood Gold in the first dye slot, Blood Gold on the second, and Templar's Last Dawn on the final dye slot. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think of her fashion down below in the comment section. Very interested to see what you guys think. Personally speaking, I think this looks fantastic. With that being said, let's go ahead and go over to a world boss and see how effective she is at keeping my heals up, or my health up. So let's go ahead and go and do that. And there you have it, guys. The Chaplain build has officially been completed here on the channel. This build, I gotta say, was fantastic. She is a great healer because of the fact that she has a ton of HOTS in her tool set, making it very easy to keep your health up at any given time. As you guys saw, I very rarely, I don't think I ever dropped below 90%. I could be mistaken on that, however, so don't quote me on that. But she did keep my health up very, very, very well at any given time. Because of that, I think this is a fantastic build for anybody who wants to run Isobel as a healer. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.